Hello, everybody. Welcome to Nintendo Pow Block here on Boss Rush Games. I'm your host, the Enlightened Insider, Eddie V. Joining me is the Indie Insider himself, Mr. Dan Murphy.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
The gallivanting Garrett Char himself, Mr. Jacob Taylor.
What's going on, everybody?
And the devastating Dungeoneer, Mr. David Laxby.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, guys. How are you? We are back in the building. It has been a weekend of sorts, I should say. Cause man, my snack Nintendo's gonna probably be full. But how have you guys been?
I've been good, man. Been tired.
Been good. Getting my backlog of games. It's been good.
Had a very homeowner weekend where we're redoing the bathrooms, so I'm learning a lot about how to do different things that I never thought I could do before.
Been there.
That's good. That is good. Me and David had a good hangout talk, which you guys will see soon in the coming weeks. We had a really good discussion, David. So
Is
like
okay,
I said,
what it was for? Is that?
yeah, you can. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm really excited about it. Ed and I collaborated for a collaboration between Zelda Dungeon and Boss Rush Games to kind of lift up Black voices for Black History Month. And Ed was gracious enough to be my interview and let me interview. And so we talked for an hour yesterday, and it was awesome.
Nice.
It was so good just to be able to like have that discussion with him. So you guys, do check it out, and we're gonna try to get the video up next month about it so that you guys can see, I guess, the unedited version. Yes. But we're going to get into some quick housekeeping. This is episode 230 of Nintendo Pow Block podcast. Each and every week we come together to talk about games and everything we love about them with our friends. You can join us live on Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/BossRushGames Live and be a part of the conversation. But if you can't join us live, no big deal. You can head over to youtube.com/BossRushGames and BossRushGames.com to watch the show or listen on your podcast service of choice. We merge to subscribe, follow, rate, and review wherever you consume us. It helps us out with discoverability, and check out our family of shows wherever you listen to your podcast. And also, guys, check us out on Discord at Boss Rush Games. So it is that time to get into our snack Tendo. Jacob, what have you been snacking on?
Man, I haven't been on in 2 weeks. I was talking last week about these new Reese's cups. I'm a sucker for Reese's. They're my favorite. They're my favorite candy. And I saw at a gas station this new Reese's cups that had marshmallow fluff topping. Like it was like the regular Reese's cup.
Nice.
And then the top, it was like a Reese's cup cut in half, and they were like, we're gonna make the top half out of marshmallow fluff. And oh my gosh, these things are so like decadent. They are amazing. Wow. Like I've been like, every time I go into a Walmart, I try and like find the like big boxes where it's like a whole bunch of them, as if they were selling them right off the shelf. And I haven't been able to find one because, man, I want to stock up on these a lot. And then per your recommendations a few episodes ago, I found and picked up the mint chocolate, the mint and dark chocolate Kit Kat.
Yes.
Which was mwah. It was like a palate cleanser of mint and dark chocolate. It was very tasty. And then I also did the mocha and chocolate, and that one was okay. That one was not so great. But man, that mint one was fantastic.
That mint one, it's literally so good. It's a cheap version of an Andes mint bar.
It really is, or like a what are they? The Girl Scout cookies, the mint ones. Are they peppermint patties? No, that's not what
I
it
think
is.
so.
Maybe, I don't remember, but it's like that too. Like it's so good.
Dan, what has been in your snack tin though?
We tried making fudge the other day, like a peanut butter style fudge. It's pretty good. Fudge is a lot easier to make than I thought, so we're gonna try again. I think it was just too much peanut butter for me. But hey, at least we tried.
Is that a thing? Too much peanut butter?
Yeah, I'm not one of those peanut butter people. I mean, like my fiance, she could bathe in it and be happy. Like I just like I've never been a big peanut butter fan.
Oh, peanut butter and chocolate are the greatest combination. It's the best combination of any salt, pepper, peanut butter. Chocolate.
Yeah, so like a Reese's cup is the perfect like ratio of each peanut butter and chocolate, and that's where I really draw the line with peanut butter. I don't need any more in my life than that. You know what I mean? But I do need that chocolate to go with it. So
I will sometimes eat just a small bowl of peanut butter with chocolate chips in it, and just straight. That's good for me.
That's lunacy to me. If I saw you doing that, I would think you're Charles Manson.
Oh goodness! Wow. David, what have you been snacking on?
So Ben and Jerry's, it's one of my favorite ice cream companies, and they got some pretty delicious non-dairy lines. So I don't remember they always have some fancy name. I should have looked it up before the show, but I've been eating their cookies and cream ice cream with waffle cones, and it's makes me happy.
Yes. I know for me, I just had the Ben & Jerry's strawberry cheesecake ice cream. I love that one. It's so good. It's just so good. But for what I've been snacking on, I actually had an Italian sandwich from Arby's. Try something completely different. It was weird because it was just like, okay, this is good, but I was kind of left like, I don't know if I like this or not. Like, it was a really odd place. I felt like I should have just go to Subway and get a sub of the same thing, like get a cold cut combo and get the fixings added onto it. Because I don't know, it tasted real weird to me. But the fries was good, so I love me some good curly fries.
Oh, Arby's fries are the best.
I've never been to an Arby's.
Oh, their curly fries are incredible.
Yeah, growing up in New England, they weren't anywhere up there. And then, like, ever since I've been bouncing around Michigan, here, Chicago, I just never had the urge to get it.
Oh wow. Yeah. So that's kind of what I've been jumping around having a lot of fast food stuff and like the nacho fries from Taco Bell and everything. And everybody's been getting on me on my diet. And I'm just like, I'm like, I've been at work. I've been the only person at work as a manager. I can't leave the store. So right now I gotta get like kind of fast food stuff because
You're
I have
eating
no
to
choice.
survive.
Exactly. And everything. And I'm walking 8 hours. I'm on my feet all most of the day. I'm going up and down, lifting stuff. And so, hello, Laurent. Hello, Eric. And hello, everybody. Laurent said you eat like trash, Ed. I do dive into various foods. How much activity does your Fitbit track? I guess, Dan, I think that one's for you. Your Fitbit.
For me?
Yeah.
Oh, I have an Apple Watch, so like I watch the rings. Do you guys?
He's talking about me. How much does my Fitbit track? I don't have a Fitbit yet. I
Ed, you don't have to take that. You just mute him.
No. Shout out to Laurent, everybody. He is host of Crossroads on our PlayStation podcast. Do check them guys out. If you are watching this live, they're going to be live tomorrow at 8 p.m., 7 p.m. Midwestern time. Do check them out. They got a great show for you guys. When I do eat junk food, I normally eat it like around maybe 2:00 or something when I'm going to work, and then I won't eat anything unless until about 7 or 8:00 at night. So that's my eating schedule. My body is weird that way, but I'm trying to get back to being healthy. I told a friend of mine that I'm trying to get into a gym when they open back up. And I'll be drinking some water and all of that stuff when I get back to work tomorrow and everything. So I'll be back on my health track, but this weekend it was just full on garbage, and I did not. wherever my money was going to be able to go to. Like yesterday, I had no Saturday um I had some Domino's with some honey barbecue wings and a Philly cheesesteak sandwich. So I was just like eating straight garbage like throughout the whole week. But I'm going to get better. I'm going to work out. I'm going to lose this weight. I'm going to build muscle and stuff like that. But there are some days that I'm just going to eat complete trash. I'm a trash panda some days, and I can't help it. So, but we're going to get into our game fact events. And David, take it away.
Yeah, so this one is about Majora's Mask. I usually go to Legend of Zelda as kind of my go-to for a game fact event. So Majora's Mask was the last time we had a true home console direct sequel to a previous game, right? So Majora's Mask was the sequel to Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And while we wait for Breath of the Wild 2 to come out, which is kind of the next time that we've had a similar sort of direct sequel, I thought I'd think back a little bit about what led to Majora's Mask. So this is from the website gamasutra.com, which is a really kind of funny pun. So you just credit to them for the source. There's a couple expert excerpts here I want to read. After development on the 1998 acclaimed Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time wrapped up, then dungeon designer Eiji Aonuma was less than thrilled about moving on to the derivative spin-off of the game, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time Master Quest, which used the original Ocarina's plot and structure but revised its dungeons. In response to Aonuma's reluctance, driven in large part by Aonuma's realization that as the director primarily responsible for the game's dungeon, he would bear the lion's share of the work, Ocarina of Time director and Zelda creator Shigeru Miyamoto offered an ultimatum. If Aonuma could lead a team to create a new Zelda game in a single year, they wouldn't have to deal with developing a new so-called flip-side spin-off game. So they essentially made a bet, and it turned out that he could produce a Zelda game in a year by simply borrowing all of the sprites from the first game and just telling a new story with them. And the rest is history. The game actually made it to retail shelf, exactly 18 months after the first game released, which is an incredibly quick turnaround. And of course, Ed's personal favorite Legend of Zelda game. So
I respect it, and I'm gonna leave it at that. Like I told David and Celeste, I'm like if you put out merch for Majora's Mask, like artwork and stuff, I would buy it. The game itself, I respect what the Zelda team has done, and I will leave it at that.
I absolutely love Majora's Mask. That was one that I felt was so rewarding when you would find things and you actually like learn the areas, learn people's habits and everything. It was just so cool. It was so unique, so creative. I love that game. I can't say enough about it.
Yes.
Jacob, what do you?
Can
we get as a big Zelda fan?
Yeah, well, I keep rolling over the idea in my head is that Aonuma got played, man. He got bet that he couldn't make a Zelda game in a year, and then still had to come out with Ocarina of Time Master Quest. Like, it's still there. They didn't like totally redesign the dungeons, but they flipped it, and like he got played. And that's all I can think about is that poor man. But no, yeah, I love it. That's Majora's Mask is the reason why I think we're going to get Breath of the Wild 2 this year. I don't see it going past 2021 because of Majora's Mask. So
I'm so waiting for Breath of the Wild 2. I've been looking at my Link's Awakening for Switch, and I'm like, I should go back and 100% that, like, get everything that I can. But
that's a tough one to find all those shells.
Yeah, it is. It is. But everybody, it's time for Femi News. Take it away, David.
All right. Thank you, Ed. Well, we have 3 stories for discussion today. So our first one, the headline is Star Fox and F-Zero World and Character Designer Takaya Imamura leaves Nintendo. So this is from Gematsu, and Sal Romano is the reporter. So after 32 years of working for Nintendo, Imamura will be doing freelance work. Imamura has worked on a number of titles during his time at Nintendo. He was a graphic designer on the original F-Zero and Star Fox games, including the character designs for Captain Falcon and Fox McCloud. Art director on Star Fox 64, chief designer on F-Zero X, art designer on The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, including the creation of Tingle, and producer on Star Fox Assault and Star Fox Command, director on Steel Diver and Tank Troopers, and supervisor for a number of other F-Zero and Star Fox games. So, I was wondering, and we'll start with Jacob. What is Imamura's greatest legacy with Nintendo? What kind of work would you like to see in his future as a freelance designer? And might there be some future in Nindies?
That's exactly what I was thinking in the freelance side of it. I like that he's going freelance. There's a part of me that like wishes he would just retire and enjoy life, because I'm sure he's probably able to. But if he's a workaholic, then by all means. But I immediately, my mind started going towards indies and like how we could get. I mean, there's Tingle, Rosie, Rupee Land, and obviously he doesn't own Tingle, but that type of character design, Tingle, love him or hate him, he's such a unique character, and that you know exactly who he is. He's very much like Mario and Link in that aspect. But really, I guess really it's just I'm kind of wondering, because like Sakurai popped out of HAL and Nintendo and became freelance and started his own studio, and I'm wondering, and he's been basically a Nintendo second party developer at this point, right? And so I kind of feel like maybe we might see him go in the same Imamura go in the same way, and that he will start his own development team, which I'd be really excited to see. But I also wonder if that means that we'll be seeing other drops from Nintendo as well, like if we'll be seeing other people leave the company to pursue this freelance work.
Thanks, Jacob. Ed, when you think about legacy, what's on your mind, and what do you think is the future for Imamura?
Well, when I think of legacy, I definitely think of Star Fox. I remember playing Star Fox on the Super Nintendo and just seeing what they could do with what they was doing with that graphics chip on that system, and knowing that he was behind it and making these games, and definitely with F-Zero and stuff, I was just like, wow, you realize there are other great developers and creators at Nintendo outside of Miyamoto. And so seeing, hearing his legacy and stuff, I'm like, he really made some top tier games, some really well-known franchises. And seeing him going freelance, he'll probably still work with Nintendo on some things, but I think now Sony players and Microsoft players will get a chance to experience his design in games, and even PC players will actually be able to get his design. It's going to be where he'll be able to create his new IPs, do new art, and just have the freedom to really make something that maybe he probably couldn't make at Nintendo and stuff. So. Oh, go ahead.
Can I ask you a follow-up question on that quickly? It was the FX chip, right? I think was the one for Star Fox. So given that he kind of has a history with pushing the graphics edge at Nintendo, now that he has the freedom to work for a Sony or a Microsoft, do you think that that's something that would be an attractive option with graphical design?
Microsoft would have to fight for him to get his stuff on their platform, because Microsoft doesn't do well in Japan. Sony probably would be open to work with them to get games for Japan and the Western market. So I think he'll have an easier time to do it with Sony. Microsoft will have to fight for him. And I don't think it's going to have to come in. Sorry, I don't think it has to be a lot of money or something. It's that Microsoft have to come and really give them some freedom to like really bring a game out and really be able to market it in Japan. Because if he work with Microsoft and his stuff don't sell well in Japan, it may not even sell well here in America. So, but I think it's a chance that if Microsoft fights for him to work with them, then yes, I think Sony will have an easier time than Microsoft.
Yeah. Dan, what about you?
It'll be interesting because he is an art designer, so I kind of I don't know if like Nintendo put restrictions on him, but like I'm looking at his GameWorks and pretty much everything on this GameWork, like you could tell it has that unique touch to it. I also want to know how many mushrooms he ate when he created Tingle, because there's no way a sober man created that character. So I don't know. It's gonna be cool to see what he does next. I don't have any predictions, but man, everything he did was great.
All right. Thank you, guys. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next story. And this is a reoccurring topic on our show as well that we got some more ammo for. So Nintendo sales numbers continuing to do well. So there's a couple stories. First one focuses on Among Us, which sold 3.2 million copies on Switch in the month of December. So Innersloss Among Us received a sudden release on Nintendo Switch last month. According to SuperData, the game sold 3.2 million copies that month alone. The Switch port was the highest earning version of the game for the month of December. Total Among Us players numbers dropped after its November peak, but the game still managed to be 2.8 times as popular as Roblox, which I think is a pretty interesting piece of information there. That was from Nintendo Enthusiast, or Super Data via Nintendo Enthusiast. And then one more little piece of information. This comes out of Famitsu via Stealth on Twitter. Famitsu has released the latest Japan sales numbers from last week. So this is the week of January 10 through the 16th. In Japan, Nintendo Switch sales made up a 94% of the market share, which is higher, about 20 points higher than their year-on-year average. Also, all top 10 titles that were selling in Japan were from the Switch as well. So Switch did 171,000 units, while PS5 did 7,000 units, and PS4 did 3,000 units. So starting with Ed this time, any surprises here? What stands out to you about these numbers, and what does this suggest for Nintendo sales and marketing in 2021?
So what's surprising to it is with this list is that Nintendo is still dominating, almost getting close to 3 years. In 2 more months it will be it'll actually hit 4 years, but like we know it's been on the hot streak. It's surprising to see that Sony is not doing well with PlayStation 5, even though it's a struggle here in America to get a system. I'm not hearing that same thing in Japan. And then maybe because there is a lack of games that's out right now in Japan also than with America. I guess that because Switch is so available in Japan and stuff with their games, that people were just like, I need something to play, so I'm going to get something to play with that. And then plus it also might be the economy also, that Sony and Microsoft are having a hard time, that Nintendo somehow maybe it may be a budgeted thing, and with Nintendo stuff in Japan, that people are going out and being able to get those systems and stuff. Japan is still like a mobile country in a sense, and Nintendo is kind of a add-on to that. So there might be some connection with it. So I'm surprised to see this. I'm happy to hear these numbers. I really hope that Sony can really like sell some more systems and get some more games out, and I hope Microsoft could do something in Japan also a little bit later. But right now, like, to hear Nintendo do all of that from Famitsu, like, Nintendo used to get clowned for the system in their games. You barely see any of their hits on the list. Now it's being like, for months it's being top 10 for the whole way through. That's surprising.
Thanks, Ed. Dan, what stands out to you?
I mean, production has to be a factor with the PlayStation sales, so I'm gonna sprinkle a little grain of salt on it with that. But yeah, I mean, the fact that these Nintendo numbers are just not slowing down, it's crazy to me. And even actually, I find the Among Us to be very surprising because it is a free mobile game. Like, you don't have to pay any money to play on your iPad or your phone. But for Switch, it's like $6, and chatting on the during the voting process is kind of a pain on the Switch. But yeah, I mean, this just goes to show that the accessibility of bringing the Switch somewhere and the portability of it is such a huge marketing standpoint. And I mean, that's what sold me on the Switch. So it's good to see, and we'll see if these numbers keep up.
Jacob, I know that you do a lot of streaming, and often you stream Among Us. What are your thoughts on these numbers overall, and particularly the sales of Among Us?
It doesn't surprise me at all. I didn't realize it when it got announced, but Among Us coming to the Switch is the first console that Among Us has come to. I have no doubt that it'll come to Xbox and Sony as well. But yeah, apparently Switch is the first console to get that game, and so it doesn't surprise me at all with Switch's install base and frankly their attach ratio with a lot of the bigger games for the install base. That's not surprising. The just to kind of to parrot what Ed and Dan were saying about Sony in Japan is, yeah, it is a problem that they don't have consoles to sell. That is a big factor as to why they're not selling as much. But at the same time, Japan's infrastructure is very on the go. And that's why Nintendo handhelds always have done well there, even with even the PSP, even the PS Vita have done very well in Japan. And so the fact that Nintendo has the Switch just kind of makes it almost seem like Sony can stick in there, and to me that Microsoft shouldn't even bother, because no one's willing to give up the TV, in Japan. They all have their own console, and so it's almost kind of like a why even bother at that point. But for sure, to parrot them, the biggest reason that these numbers are so drastic is because Sony's stock just isn't there right now.
The one thing I'd add to what you all said, I just think it's interesting as Switch Pro, in theory, comes out here soon. If Nintendo's wavering at all about making that, it's all speculation, but making that dock only, given how much the accessibility and the portability has been such a driver of sales, I think probably the ultimate solution would be just that each type of Switch will have its own niche or lane. That Switch Lite will be for kids. The standard Switch will be for, sort of your handheld gamers. And then for like serious gamers that want to put on the TV, you'll have the Pro. And so Nintendo will kind of have these customizable options. That's my thought going forward. All right, so our final story today deals with a bit of controversy. So the artist and musician for Devil's Engine Ignition urged consumers not to purchase the game. So this is out of Nintendo Life. Controversy is again surrounding the shooter game Devil's Engine after it appears the artist and the musician for the game still have not been financially compensated for their work. The controversy takes a bit of attention to track, as conflicting statements have been issued by all parties involved, dating back to this past summer. So Protoculture Games, aka Tristan Chapman, the developer of Devil Engine, claimed in July of 2020 that no payment had been forthcoming from publisher DanGen Entertainment, and that DanGen was withholding the rights to the game from its developer. This appeared to have been resolved recently when a joint statement was issued which said that Protoculture and DanGen had sorted the whole mess out, only for Devil's Engine artist and musician siblings Thomas and Joseph Bailey to issue their own statement, which claimed Chapman was using their work without permission on Devil Engine. It would appear that unless Chapman removes the art and music from the game, a massive task, then legal action will indeed be taken, and Devil Engine could be removed from sales completely. At the time of this writing, it was still available on the eShop and Steam. So for our panel, some consideration here. What are the obligations of consumers in this situation? Should the game be boycotted until the labor dispute is resolved? Or should industry folks have to sort this out on their own rather than punishing consumers for the infighting? Dan, we'll start with you this time. What do you think?
I don't know. I'm always pro-consumer, right? Like I feel like because other people are screwing things up, I hate to see that people who are looking forward to something get the short end of the stick. You know what I mean? So maybe that's just like a cheap answer, but that's how I always feel with these kind of situations.
Mm-hmm. Jacob, what about you?
So weird for me personally. Weirdly enough, this just made me want to go buy the game because it might go away, and that FOMO is real. But if you're okay with it, if not, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I kind of want to throw it back to you just because it's similar to your situation. For you to use my time to speak, because personally as a consumer, I've always been of the mind of, well, if I buy it, then I'm voting for it. But at the same time, like I said, the fact that the game might go away, I'm like, oh, well, now I have to buy it though, because I could never get a chance to play it.
Right.
But yeah, I'm actually really interested to know your thoughts on it, David.
Yeah, I mean, without saying too much, I'm involved in a little bit of a labor dispute right now in my real life job, and I tend to be very pro, union or pro labor. So I thought this was kind of an interesting situation, and I feel conflicted about it. Part of me wonders what the whole story is here. There is that whole no publicity is bad publicity thing, and is this just a controversy that's stirred up to generate sales? Because Jacob's statement, "No, I want to go buy it," right? It's kind of an interesting one. If the artists are truly being misused, and they did all this work and then have basically been given the shaft, then I kind of feel icky about purchasing something like that and supporting the system. So I guess I'm on the fence about it. Ed, what do you think?
So I don't think it's up to the consumers to buy this game. I think they need to figure it out. I took a look at this game and I'm just like, there's better shoot 'em ups, that people could go and support and buy. I think this there's something about this that remind me of the Alex Moore situation, where Alex Moore was a transgender person who was doing like a copyright infringement over her music that was used in this shoot 'em up game. So they took it out, but she was also like DMCA YouTube play people when they just show the game without the music and everything. And it's just like there's something about this that feels weird. And I think they need to settle it. If they got a contract, everything has been settled. I need to know what did that contract say after the court. Like, what did you guys agree upon? What's the financial portion of this and everything? I would just need to see more. But I took a look at the game and I'm like, there's better of it. So I want to support nobody in this situation until it all gets worked out. There's other 2D shoot 'em ups that you guys could get. There's a game called Ikaruga that you guys could get from Treasure and Nicholas. There's Gradius. There's Darius that's on there. There's just a whole bunch of better shoot 'em ups on there that you could get. So I would wait for this stuff to handle itself and don't support nobody. If they can't get it together and they want to still act the way that they act, I say don't support it until it's really settled, to everybody get their business together.
Jacob, as we wrap up this section, was there any comments in the chat about these three stories? Putting you on the spot there, but
yeah, not totally. Chat was discussing a little bit about how Switch owners usually have multiple Switches and such, but in regards to our Japan story, but not a whole lot going on there.
All right. Yeah. Thanks. Well, that's our news segment. Back to our host, Ed.
All right. We're going to get into our doc mode. And we was talking in the chat about a Nindies Game Pass. Wait 1 second. How would that look for the Nintendo brand and creators? Let's discuss about it. So a Nintendo style game pass for a lot of Nindies. I'm going to go last on this one because I have various opinions about this. So I'll say. So Dan, I'm going to start with you as our indie insider. What did you think about an indie game pass?
Well, before we start with it, I want someone to tell me because I have maybe picked up one Xbox controller in my life. So I don't know what Game Pass is. Explain to me how it works and like how I would play games on a Game
Okay.
Pass.
So Game Pass is almost like Netflix, where there's a whole bunch of games on there that you could download. You download to your system and you get to keep them as long as you got the service. Along that comes along it was is Xbox Live and Xbox games with Gold. If you have the regular one, if you get Ultimate, that's adding X Cloud and is also adding the PC. There is a PC version that you can also do for Game Pass where you don't have to play games on the console. Uh, there are specific games on there for just PC and not console, and games that's for console and not PC. If you get Ultimate, which is $50 a month, you get everything as with Game Pass with XCloud, where you could play on stuff on the go. So you could play on a tablet, on a mobile phone, uh, using a controller or using your Xbox controller and go from there. There are some you get day and date with the first party Microsoft games. So anything that comes out from Microsoft that they publish will be on their day one with it. So you don't have to go into the stores and buy it. If there are indie games or third party games, they will come to the service, but there are limited times. So they could be on there for a year or 6 months or even 3 months or 3 weeks and stuff. And you will be able to play that while it's available. Once they take it off, you can't play it anymore. If you stop paying for Game Pass or Game Pass Ultimate, you lose all of that. You don't get to keep any of the games with it. If there's a particular game, that you do like, you get an extra discount if you decide to buy it digitally.
Mm.
So that's kind of Game Pass.
So you can play the whole game?
Yes, you can play
Yeah.
all full games. Yes.
Oh, okay. So it's like $15 a month and you can play all the games that are available on it.
For Ultimate, it is $15 for a PC. That's including the PC, X Cloud, and console. If you want regular Game Pass, it's $10. I think PC is just $5. I believe. Laron knows about it because he has Game Pass Ultimate. But I think it's just $5 for it.
Well, I think for the sake of our dock mode discussion, we could just say that
Oh,
we'll
it's
say it's $8 per Laron for the Nintendo Switch version
Yeah.
for this Ninja
Yeah.
version.
oh
So for
it's
eight,
eight
Right.
it's, yeah, it's $8 for a PC, which is the PC version.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, if Nintendo decided to do something like this with just specific indie titles, I think that would be fantastic because I mean, if you look at the Switch eShop, I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on with indies, and there are so many good ones that just fall under the radar. I mean, like Kunai is one of my favorite indie games. I actually don't know very many people who played it,
Which
even though I've
which
like advertised it.
which Dan, no limited run, no limited run, limited run games are got the physical version that you can pre-order.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's like Evergate is another one that I really liked, but people aren't willing to try it because it looks like a knockoff of Ori and the Blind Forest or Ori and the Will of the Wisps. But I think just for indie titles to get more and more exposure, this can only be a good thing. Assuming that, if they are on Game Pass, they do get the money that's worth being on there.
Well, Jacob, I'm gonna let you go. What do you think about this kind of service, a Nindy's Game Pass?
so I'm gonna play devil's advocate mostly because I actually really don't agree with the idea of it at all. But to do it, I have a hard time believing that these games that get missed because they just fall under people's radar would do any better on an indie game pass where there are all these other the exact same games that those games fell under the radar from are being offered, and then like any better than they wouldn't do now when they just drop the price on as a discount. I've picked up games that I never would have picked up before off of the eShop because of discounts dropping them below $5, where it's like, oh yeah, I could go get lunch or I could make a sandwich and buy this and have a game to play. It just doesn't. I it doesn't seem like indies would be enough to bring it in. It seems like they would have to offer the big first party and third party titles as well, like how Xbox does it, like how Game Pass has it, in order for it to actually make sense. Especially because these indie games probably wouldn't be on there for forever. They probably would be there for at max a year, and then they'd go away, and maybe they'd come back in a couple years. But like all that time that they would be gone, they would again just fall under the radar again. So nobody would ever like. I don't think it would increase their what's the word, like
visibility.
Their visibility. Yeah, thank you, Ed. And in fact, it might deter it because more people would be able to get their hands on the games that are already popular, like Celeste and Hades and Hollow Knight. You know, what I would like to see, to just as a counterpoint, is the games with gold deal. Like Xbox has on Nintendo, where they offer a big game and a little game for free if you have the online service. Maybe bump up the online service cost a little bit, and then each month you get a free game, 2 free games, 1 indie game and 1 big game, and it's yours as long as you have the online service. It will never go away if you downloaded it during that month, and I think that would be more of a way to market these smaller titles.
But don't you think like having a Game Pass would give people more incentive to try these games? You know what I mean? Like you said, you've picked up a lot of games just buying them on discounted, but I know there's a lot of people out there that don't just like buying games. You know what I mean? Especially if they don't know if they're gonna like it.
Yeah.
But this is the thing about it. Sorry for jumping in. People don't like buying games for Sony and Microsoft. People like buying games for Nintendo. And the reason why is because if you look at limited run games, if you look at the directs in the comments that people are going to be buying these indie games, they're going to be buying more of that. Everybody knows that on Xbox and PlayStation 4, if they got some kind of service, people are going to decide to go there. Why? Because it's easier for them. It's an additional thing. They could just download it, play it at 12 o'clock or wherever it releases, and be done with it. And not once they don't need it no more, they take it off. But with Nindies on Nintendo, we got stories that these Nindie games are saving developers and stuff. The same stuff that's coming out on all 3 platforms. If you're going to try something, why would you, if you know that it's coming to Game Pass, why is the story saying that your game sold the most on Nintendo platforms? You got it on Game Pass. You have 7+ million players. Someone in those 7+ million players should be able to say that we've been playing this game on Game Pass, and Microsoft should be able to report it. But we see more. We can look at IGN, the Game Informer, and they'll say that this game has sold half of their sales, or their game hit #1 on the Nintendo Switch. So go ahead, Jacob.
Well, but your question is answered in the statement, right? It sells more on the Switch because they can't just download it for Game Pass. I have games, to what Dan was saying, I have games that I've bought and I've never played, but the developer still has my money. They still made the full amount, or the amount that I bought it for a discount on my purchase, and I haven't even played the dang thing.
And we got Cyber Shadow that's coming out from Yakuza Games. We know that it's on Game Pass, but I bet you a lot of people they're probably on my timeline. I don't know about you guys. I think I'm gonna see a lot of people playing that game on Switch. Like I brought it on Switch, and I think more people are buying it on Switch, and that may be because of the Nintendo Direct. Well, so it's going to be. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna shout out Exodus, Laurent, Crossroads podcast host. He's saying people flock to the Switch eShop because the Switch is a portable system, and the culture of Nintendo has bred a sect of gamer that craves stuff to have on the go. And that's exactly why I don't think an indie Game Pass thing is necessary. I think people are buying these games on Nintendo whether or not they need to, and the fact that they're selling so well proves that they're getting it whether or not they actually need to be getting it.
Well, David, yeah, go ahead.
Well, so I just think that there's 2 ways that we can look at this. I think we can look at it from sort of this moral, ethical point of is it good for indie developers to have a Game Pass? And I think that's maybe how Jacob's approaching it.
Yeah.
And then I think it's the other way we can look at it is it good for Nintendo to have this? And I would argue that the Game Pass is a huge selling point for Xbox, and it makes it a destination that people know, hey, I can, purchase Game Pass and have this huge library of games for just a monthly fee, right? And, if Nintendo had this sort of exclusive Game Pass for indies, I think that makes Switch, which is already king, have even more draw. So from Nintendo's perspective, I think it's a no-brainer. Thinking about it from the indie company's perspective, I think it really depends on what the deal structure is. If they're getting a pretty sweet incentive to add their game to this massive library on Switch, then it probably compensates them for sales. But if they're getting just a nominal amount, then it probably does shoot them in the foot, and it's probably not worth it.
And a lot of indie developers get the double dipping for Switch. Like people will buy it digitally, and then if it gets a physical version, people will go and buy it. Like it's weird. People spend money to get the Grease collection, and that game had been out like for months after they came out on Nintendo Switch. Now the game is on PlayStation, and people barely even touch it and stuff. Like even with the beat 'em up game that Ubisoft just released from that movie that came out. A lot of people who bought the game, I didn't buy it digitally, but I got my physical copy, and everybody wants the physical copy for a Switch, and it's sold out real quick because people are like, we know that this game got taken off the market line on Xbox and PlayStation. We don't want to risk that again. So if they start putting indies that you can't buy anymore or anything and stuff, they're gonna take it off. People are just like, I'd rather just pony up the $40 or $50 some dollars, get the collection, and call it a day. Like people are treating indies as big as AAA games or even first party games and stuff. Like even Dead Cells have been on PC for a long time, and when it finally came to Switch and PlayStation, everybody who bought the digital version also bought the physical version on Switch. Like, and Dead Cells have been around and stuff. So it's well, if there was an Indies Game Pass, what would be a price set for it for you guys, David?
Boy, I mean, again, I think it goes back to what sort of incentive is there for indie companies to be on it, and it might have to be higher than what would be ideal for the consumer. I'm just thinking about how Netflix, as they've started to produce more shows, their price has gone up significantly. I think they're raising it to $17 or something now a month for their service. And if it's going to do the kind of tasks that we're talking about it doing, of being this destination and being something that people even produce to try to get on, then I think it maybe it would either have to be like a $15 standalone, or be bundled as part of a new online membership for Switch as they reinvent themselves for, Switch Pro or whatever that looks like going forward.
Yes. David, not David. Dan, what would you price it for an Indies Game Pass?
I mean, me personally, I would pay anything. I like seeing, I don't know. I always just like supporting indie developers. So like if it was $25 a month, I'd probably do it anyway. Cause I find myself buying at least $20 of indie games a month anyway. So that wouldn't be much of a difference for me.
Why do I feel like I spent some more than you? I probably do like $65 on indies per month for me. What about you, Jacob? What would you pay?
Man, I don't know. I guess if I had to, I'd probably stick it in the $15 range, but I don't think I would keep it that often because I probably would pay for it for like a month and then not bother with it anymore and just not cut out, because I could spend that $15 on the indie games that I want and have them forever and not risk losing them to a timed Game Pass thing,
And I have to say, with Game Pass, you have to have online. You have to have the internet. If your internet goes out, and even though you got Game Pass, even though you download it, you cannot play it.
Yeah,
and that's you can't verify, right? Like that's it's got to
Yeah.
go.
And that
Yeah.
that right there would scare me even more, like, or gives me even more reason to say this isn't a good idea for the Switch because of the portability of the Switch. Most people aren't going to have internet on the go through their phones or whatever. It's just not going to work. And then you lose a whole section of being able to even use a Game Pass.
Yeah, and to me, this is not. I'm not knocking. So, thank you, Laurent. It was Scott Pilgrim versus the World. That was the game. This is not a knock to Microsoft and not a knock to Sony, even though it sounds like it. When I say that people barely buy those games, a lot of people do digital on those systems than they do physical. Nintendo people do like digital because they do want to play on the go, but a lot of people do physical because they want to make sure that if anything happens to that license, they got that physical record still to pop it in and continue to play it and everything. I think Nintendo themselves, they probably would be like, well, this is a service that's not actually competing against our service, but if we make a deal where people get Nintendo online and everything, and let's just say $60 for a full year. You get Nintendo Online, and then with that for extra $40, you get the Nindy Game Pass, or you get Nindy World Deluxe. And so if you have Nindy World Deluxe, everything that they show in the Nintendo Direct, you get a month early before anybody else. So let's say Shovel Knight 2 came out and it was ready to go, and it came out, let's say in April, you would get it that March before everybody. Would you guys do something like that?
I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
uh, yeah. I mean, I guess I don't want to keep downing on an idea. So I yeah yeah.
I mean, I
I'd
mean,
enjoy it. I pay for online anyways, so if they up the price on me, I'm gonna have to pay that amount anyways. So I would enjoy it. I don't know if it would be like the reason for me to keep online or go with anything like that.
I mean, and I'm just like, it's one payment for a full year. You don't have to do anything else. So they could put indies on, they could take indies off. You still made that one payment.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like I would have it just because I pay for online, but I just don't know. I just have all these like there's tons of thoughts floating around in my head that's like tells me this just wouldn't ever be a good idea for the indie companies. Like I just don't think they would be compensated well enough for it to be supportive of them.
Me and David could play that Legend of Zelda rhythm game. Uh,
Cadence of
Scribble.
Hyrule.
Yeah, Cadence of
Wow.
Hyrule,
Yeah.
man. Buy it. It's a great game. Support the indie company. It's a fantastic game.
yeah. So, any last thoughts about this? David, any last thoughts?
No, I mean, I was just thinking a little bit about Nintendo fans being so prone to getting physical copies of the game. And the only thing that I could connect that back to as to why that is that Nintendo has a history of enhancing cartridges or physical things to make it so you want to buy it, like going all the way back to Legend of Zelda having a gold cartridge. Or with the physical release, Nintendo always tries to sweeten the deal with that, and I just wonder if other companies do that, and yeah, I don't know. That's just what I was wrestling with as I was hearing that conversation about whether a digital only model would work for Nintendo.
Yes. What about you, Dan?
Yeah, like I was saying when we opened with it, the only thing I'd want to really see is just indie developers getting the support they deserve. That's really the only way I'd be on board, and I would support it the full way.
Jacob?
That
Final words?
yeah, I mean that's the same thing as I stand by my idea that I don't think this would work out for indie developers in the long run, and I think that realistically what Nintendo is currently doing with their indie directs is much more substantial, and they have a responsibility to the smaller games that have that potential to be the big hitters to get them on those directs.
Yeah.
Could I-
And for me, oh, go ahead, David.
I'm sorry. I did just have one thought while Jacob was talking, thinking about compensation. Would a model that's like Spotify or something like that, where you're getting compensated per the number of streams or like the number of times people play, be conceivable, or would that work for indie games?
If it's a monthly basis, yes, it would be that way. It would uh, it would be something like that. Yeah.
And so, and I don't think it would work that way for the games that aren't getting the representation that they deserve anyways, because I just don't. And maybe I'm a negative person. Maybe I'm learning something about myself tonight, but I just don't see why somebody wouldn't be willing to cough up $2 to $5 for a game that people are saying, like, you know, people in their circle on Twitter or whatever are saying, oh, this game's pretty good, would be willing to then go and download that game because they pay for a service that it's on, when other games that those same people are saying, well, this game's amazing. Like, I don't see why they would spend the time, even if it was free or not.
Yeah, and I think that's why when people say when they got Game Pass, oh, I get to try a game. I'm like, you barely use anything on Game Pass. They have put a ton of games on Game Pass, and people, my opinion, just my personal opinion, I think people only play maybe 4 to 5 games on Game Pass throughout the whole year. Where with Nindies, when people see it, they'll be like, "Oh, it's coming from Nicholas. It's coming from Limited Run. I 8-bit. Oh, they got a collection going on." People are willing to pay the money for that. And I think indie developers, they not say they thrive on that, but I think they have a perception of they look forward to that. Like if they get their stuff in a Nintendo Direct, they're guaranteed that they're going to make some kind of sales for it. If it looks good and they see the chitter chatter on social media is good for them, people are going to get it. You know, so I wouldn't go for the service. I wouldn't pay for it. I think that I think what we're doing now is that buying it digitally and getting it physically if you want to. I think that's working well for these indie developers on this Nintendo platform. So we're gonna leave it like that, everybody. But now it's time for playing with power. Jacob, what are you playing with power?
I am I am slowly but surely still making my way through Immortals Phoenix Rising. We just beat on stream our third god. We liberated, rescued whatever our third god, and we're about to make our way into the Forge Lands, and then I think we'll be done after that. I think we just have the final boss after that, and man, that game. Every time I'm on here, I say it. The more and more I play it, the more and more I'm just like, wow, this game is so good. And it started off like, oh, it's okay. And then it just keeps, it's like a very steep bell curve in its favor. Because, man, the stuff you can do in that game, like, I know y'all just had your Hyrule Warriors spoiler cast, and unfortunately, I felt like I needed to step out of it for my own personal content creation stuff, just given the time frame that y'all were doing it. But Hyrule Warriors had made me feel like for lack of a better word, like I felt like a god playing that game. I was destroying people left and right, and the things that you can do in Immortals Phoenix Rising, oh my goodness, you feel so bad. Like you feel so it's amazing. I'm like, I've got this ability now where I can like you kind of like reverse magnesis yourself to them. So you're like, there's like enemies in the air and you pull yourself up to them and slash them out of the sky, and then you pull yourself back down onto the ground for other people, and you pick up giant rocks and throw it at them, and you do like this charged shield bash, and it's so good. It's so good. But other than that, I've been working through Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate and playing the single player campaign on that, getting myself hyped up for Rise coming out on the, I think, 26th of March.
Yes, next month in March is ridiculous. I'm already putting $400 to the side for games. Trust me, and my Monster Hunter collection is already paid for March, so I just need everything else for those 2 months. David, what are you playing with Power?
Well, I started 2 new games this week from my backlog. So my personal challenge for the year from Dan, I think it was to play Evergate. And I'm enjoying it so far. It's kind of like I guess you like a platform puzzle game, kind of, right? Is that yeah? And it's
it's
just
a puzzle platformer for sure.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm just enjoying it, and it's beautiful. I love the art. My kids were watching it, and my daughter's. She's really into Ori, and so it was funny that you mentioned that earlier, because she's like, "Is this another Ori game?" And I was like, "No." So that's been fun, and then I also started playing Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. I'm just absolutely loving the story on that so far. So I'm really enjoying that.
How far into that are you?
Not very far. Early in the game, but I've been trying to split my time between that and Evergate. But I think I'm gonna probably be playing more Xenoblade right now, just because I really want to push into the story. So
yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yes. Dan, what are you playing with Power?
This week I finished Mega Man 11. Those last Wily levels were pretty rough, but I got through it. And I finished Mercenaries Blaze. That game was fun. It was charming. It was cool to play a game that had that Final Fantasy Tactics feel. It was about 20 main battles, so it's not a long game. I definitely recommend it to anybody who likes a strategy RPG. And then
which is weird because Dan just finished it and I just downloaded it.
Yeah, even you could finish it, Ed, right away. I'm telling you. And then I posted on my Twitter, I have a bunch of games that I've started and didn't complete on my backlog. So I, posted for the games that maybe I wanted to finish, and the people voted for Luigi's Mansion 3. So I started playing it again. I tried picking up where I left off, and I couldn't remember the buttons or what to do or anything that was going on. So I started it from the beginning, and I am obsessed with the game. It is so much fun. I just forgot how good it was. The animation is great. Like, the cutscenes are hilarious. Like, I find myself laughing through this game more than I even remembered playing. And I just think finding all the gems are super creative. I think each floor is so unique, so creative. Everything's well designed. I mean, this is a top Switch game, and I can't believe I completely forgot about it.
Yes.
What are you playing, Ed?
So I have, like I said, I picked up Mercenary Blaze. I picked up I Can Fail. I got killed once again in Among Us. I was trying to do the right thing, and they kicked me off because everybody thought I was the person. And Dan is just all on the side, falling out laughing. He's just like, Ed, you're supposed to do it in the chat, unless it's like I am. Well, I look in the chat, and Dan is already dead in the chat laughing. I'm just like, great.
Well, see, Ed, you do this thing where you find the body, you report it, and then before you say anything, you're already voting. So everybody's like, what the hell is this guy doing? And then they kick you off.
Yeah. It'd be like, Eddie V's not the killer. So I got Cyber Shadow ready to go. Just got to wait for its release. Doing a review for that. Nino Kuni, man, the game is just so beautiful.
It's good.
Yeah, I'm going to be grinding into that and really working on that because I do have
Xenoblade. You are.
I am about. I fought this bear boss in the woods, so I'm still very very early. I'm about to be playing a lot of it this week with Cyber Shadow because I like the grinding and everything, and I was just like, okay, this game is ready to go. I got most of my RPG stuff out because once Final Fantasy VII Remake is done, and I'm doing Nino Kuni. I tried a little bit of Yakuza Like a Dragon, so I'm going to return to that on PlayStation. But Nino Kuni is I'm going to dig in because I got to dig into also David with Xenoblade Chronicles, Definitive Edition. This one little snail thing keeps killing me in the cave, and it's just you cannot have level 2 enemies and then a level 9 enemy that just hit me 2 times and my whole party's wiped out.
Same.
Wait till you get to Guar Plain and there's a 75 level 75 turtle that's just gonna smash you.
That's what I immediately thought. I was like, oh wow, that's
You know what though? It was so satisfying going back and being like, I am going to destroy this thing. You know, it was so rewarding. I love that game so much.
Yes. Streets of Rage 4. I went back to just love playing it. Went started playing Adam's gameplay. Man, I still swear, LaRon, if you're watching this, you really need to cosplay him for this year. I think he's a nice character that you should look at and think of incorporating for cosplay. And then last but not least, been playing in Bento. This is like the sushi kind of making game. Puzzle game that I'm just definitely enjoying, definitely with all of these cats and everything. So that's pretty much. Oh, and I also redownloaded Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. I can't wait to get back into that game. I think I'm just gonna full hit, just go and blast it out. Dan, I have my Mega Man 11 cart with me in this cartridge. I have it. I have my Fire Emblem 3, 3 houses. Yeah, I'm ready to get back into playing a lot of stuff for Switch. Because man, we got our backlog challenge, and I have a ton of games to get through. So
I think you just listed 35 games. I know. I lost you about 10 minutes ago.
So, but everybody, that has been Nintendo Pow Block. Jacob, where can we find you?
You can find me everywhere on the internet at Galutrad, Galutrad. Lately I stream Tuesdays through Saturdays. Tuesday through Friday, it's 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then Saturdays, I usually start around noon and then go until like 2 in the morning on Sunday because of our community game night that we have every Saturday starting at 7 p.m. Again, Central Standard Time. And that's at twitch.tv/Galutrad.
All right, Dan, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at DCDM99.
All right. And David, where can we find you?
Find me at David Lasby on Twitter, and I write articles for ZeldaDungeon.net, TheMighty.com, and BossRushGames.com.
Yes, you guys can find me on Twitter at ThatBritcherCode. Check out Optional Opinion on SoundCloud and other podcast apps. Check out Nintendo Pow Block Wednesdays if you guys did not get to catch the live show. Check out our other shows, Crossroads, Arsenal X, Boss Rush Podcast, Band, We Talk, and more, and even Recap. We got a lot of stuff that is coming to you guys to check out. Everybody, this has been a great month for Nintendo Power Block. We had our quiz, we had great discussions. There is going to be an investors meeting coming next week, so we don't know what they're going to be talking about. We may get some games announced. We may find out about a Switch Pro. Who knows? Hopefully, we get some information about that. Or we hopefully be able to talk about it on next episode. With that, everybody, have a great week. Have a great weekend. And as always, let's continue to play video games and be better to one another. Always be you, be more, and be better. With that, everybody, we will see you next time on Nintendo Power Block. Bye, everybody. Woohoo!
See you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.